I was so frustrated at not having a hit so quickly. Everybody around me in my life was having hits. It made me wait. The universe made me wait. The universe makes me wait for many, many things. And don't think that that's a bad thing. By the time you get it, you cherish it, you value it, and you're more comfortable having waited and you know what you're doing. I was driving out of my driveway and I was pregnant. I'll never forget this day. And I put on K-Rock and that loop came on, that drum loop. And I remember calling everybody I knew to tell them my song was on the radio, and the call kept getting dropped. And by the time I was done trying to call everybody to tell them my song was on the radio, the song was over. I never got through to anybody, and I missed the whole moment. I was coming home from a session thinking, I definitely have PMS, and I hate the world today. And I thought, that's a good first line. And I had met Meredith recently. I called her. When I got home, I said, you gotta come over tomorrow. I got a really great idea, and I think you can do this.
You're starting with I Hate the World Today, and then she picks it up.
And in an hour, that song was done.
Do you feel just as inspired today as you did, say, 20 years ago? Welcome to On the Record, where we peel back the layers of a release with the creative mastermind behind it. Today, I'm in LA at the home of a legendary songwriter whose songs have shaped the soundtrack of the past 2 decades. Shelly Peiken is a 2-time Grammy-nominated multi-platinum songwriter and author, celebrated for writing anthems of female empowerment that have stood the test of time. She is the force behind Christina Aguilera's #1 hit, What a Girl Wants, which helped Christina win the Best New Artist Grammy in 2000, and Bitch, the Grammy-nominated hit by Meredith Brooks that became a cultural touchstone. She's written with icons across genres: Britney Spears, The Pretenders, Natasha Bedingfield, Keith Urban, Celine Dion, Cher, Miley Cyrus, Ed Sheeran, Demi Lovato, Mandy Moore, just to name a few. Beyond her prolific songwriting career, she's a passionate creators' rights advocate, and her memoir, Confessions of a Serial Songwriter, earned her a 2nd Grammy nomination for Best Spoken Word Album. She's here with us today in her home. This is Shelly Peiken.
Hello.
On the Record.
Hello. Did I do all that stuff?
Did you forget? No. There's a beautiful reminder of all that stuff in the room that we're in.
Souvenirs.
It feels like a museum.
Well, you know, the record labels used to give us a plaque if you were on a record that sold gold or platinum when it was a physical world. They sort of no longer exist. And sometimes I work with young people who come in here and they say, what is all this? I want some of these, and it's a digital world now. They don't give them out anymore.
Yeah, they're more like you've reached 1 billion streams or something like that.
Right, and I think they must give you something. I don't know if it's an actual physical plaque. Maybe it's a piece of paper. I kind of like the framed plaques better.
A physical memento is a beautiful thing.
Yeah.
But I noticed that you have a studio here as well that you and your husband both use. But that's quite bare. There's no plaques or anything on that wall.
Yeah.
Why is that? Because
this is my cave. And this is where I work and spend all my time, and I want to see them. Adam, my husband, has worked mostly in film scoring. So his plaques are the framed posters, and they're in our TV room. He needs those things in his studio that absorb sound, you know, and they're all over the wall, so there's not enough room on the wall to even hang things. But yeah, this is my cave. I get to keep all my plaques in here.
I feel very lucky to be here.
Thank you. Welcome, Poppy.
Yeah, thank you so much. I was thinking about your career. You know, we're talking multiple decades now.
Yeah.
And I know you started
I'm tired.
Yeah. I would be too. Well, look at all this.
I'm tired.
All you've achieved. And it's actually quite, when you think of, is it 2 decades we're talking?
Probably more like 3.
3 decades.
Yeah.
There's a lot that you've achieved in that amount
maybe
of time.
4 decades, because I started getting songs recorded in the 80s.
Yeah.
I was 2.
And yeah, of course. And you were playing piano from like age 10, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was, yeah.
So songwriting since you were a child?
But not realizing what I was doing.
Yeah.
But I would always tinker around with, that's how I expressed myself. I always loved the pop song, the 3-minute pop song, and I think I would emulate them. If I heard music and it didn't have words would come to me, but I never thought what I'm doing is writing songs. Where when you cooked, you knew what you were doing was cooking. When you ran, you knew you were running. I didn't know that that's what I was doing. I had no idea that that's what I would do as a profession. It was just sort of a cathartic way to express myself when I was little.
But when did you realize there was nothing else that you possibly wanted to do? That songwriting was it?
Probably in college when I was studying something completely different.
What were you studying?
Fashion design, fashion merchandising, buying and selling.
Oh.
And I was still writing songs. And I would go up to a piano rehearsal room at the Fine Arts Building every day after classes and write songs and then go to classes. But, this was before the internet. So I had nobody to watch on YouTube or follow on YouTube or Facebook or Instagram that said, here's how to write a song, here's how to get a publishing deal. Nobody was posting their own work. I thought, whoever was singing the song I heard on a radio wrote it. I didn't realize at the time that you could write a song and send it to an artist to be recorded, which was very prevalent back then. Not so much anymore, because the artist wants to be in the room writing whether they can write or not. And a lot of them can, and a lot of them can't.
Yeah.
So I was just doing what I always did. And when I got out of college, I went to the Garment District in New York and interviewed for some jobs. And I was still writing songs. And I didn't love the environment of the Garment District. And I saw some ad in these things called the newspaper when I was looking for apartments.
I'm 38. I remember the newspaper.
And I saw this ad for a songwriting group that met in the back room of a bar in Manhattan every Tuesday. And I thought, are you kidding? Who are these people? Are there more people like me? I mean, I had never met another songwriter, and I had gotten out of college. And I went to that bar, and the room was just filled with people with the same obsession. And we played songs for each other, we wrote songs, we critiqued each other's songs, and they schooled me. And I said goodbye to the Garment District and became a waitress and wrote my own songs and learned how to pitch them and get down to the Village and play for free every Tuesday for 20 minutes, wherever you could, just to work out your stuff, like a comedian would do stand-up to work out their shit, And I never looked back.
You use the word obsession, and I think that that's so telling, because I think you need obsession in order to have a music career. Yeah. That fire in your belly.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking about how, Bitch with Meredith Brooks came out, was it 11 years after your first album cut? Mm-hmm. So what kept you going in that time before you had your first major hit, your first US hit?
There was, what kept me going? I just knew I had it. And I knew if I kept doing it, one day I'd have the hit. There were a lot of people I work with that had their it a lot sooner than I did. They didn't last. A lot of them didn't last because they didn't do the work. I was so frustrated at not having a hit so quickly that I worked harder at my craft and learned. I think that was helpful. It made me wait. The universe made me wait. The universe makes me wait for many, many things. And I don't think that that's a bad thing. By the time you get it, you cherish it, you value it, and you're more comfortable having waited and you know what you're doing. There was also more opportunity, Poppy, in the 90s to write songs with other songwriters and pitch them to outside artists. So if there were more opportunities, you just kept doing it. And I think the number of times you do something, the chances of hitting are better. If you do something once a week instead of 5 times a week, your chances are going to be less. And I didn't stop. I just kept doing it. And my curiosity about the craft was insatiable. The fact that writers that were better than me worked with me, that they felt that I had something to offer or a gift to bring into the room that maybe they didn't have. I learned from them. I think it's really important to work with people who are better than you.
Yeah.
And you learn from them.
So what do you do now? You're better than everyone.
Well, that's a big question.
Because, you say you've got to feel insatiable and you want to be the one in the room that's not the smartest person in the room, that's not, the one with the most skills in the room.
I don't want to be in those rooms anymore. I don't strive to be in those rooms anymore. So I've switched gears. That's a big question because there's a lot of reasons. When I was 20 and writing with artists and songwriters who were also around my age, we were of the same culture. We cared about the same things generationally, and we were stoked to write about those things. When I was in my 30s, I was still kind of in my 20s. I've always been a young soul. When I was in my 40s, it was very easy for me to think back about how I was feeling when I had my heart broken in college. I could still retrieve those memories. For example, Almost Doesn't Count, I wrote when I was probably in my late 30s, and it was a song about a guy I knew when I was 18.
Huge song for Brandy. Yeah.
You could go back and remember those things. But as I got older, the things that I cared about in my life weren't the same as the things I cared about when I was in my 20s. And it's not just that, but if I could continue in that stream of thought, it's also the vernacular. When I was coming up in my 20s, I could write songs that Gladys Knight would record, Natalie Cole would record. Adults, grown-ups, were still being signed and making records in their 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s. It didn't matter. So the material you were writing could be mature. And we spoke in regular English. Now, it's not just that my mindset is different than it was 20 or 30 years ago. It's the language and the vernacular and the pop culture phraseology. We're not just speaking in language that 30-year-olds and 40-year-olds and 50-year-olds can record. If I'm writing with somebody younger, they're going to speak that way. And that's not my favorite way to write lyrics and communicate. I speak in confessional, emotional verbiage So this is a more sophisticated and non-surfacey answer to your question. I don't enjoy writing pop songs the way I used to, because pop songs aren't being written with the same emotion, with the same language. And to be fair, does a 20-year-old want to be in the room writing a pop song with somebody who's the same age as their mother? They might not want to be, and I understand that, and that's fair. That said, I'll do a session once a month because a young person comes and says, I want to write a song with you. And that makes me feel good. And I want to keep my muscles exercised. And sometimes something goes somewhere. I wrote a song with Milk a couple of months ago. And Becca, she goes by, not sure what her real name is, that got licensed to CNN. And I made a delicious soup that day. And we had wonderful, deep conversation. And I like a session like that.
There's so much to unpack here because
Yes.
on one end of the spectrum, you've got you no longer being able to reflect what's happening in society with 20-year-olds. You were previously reflecting culture. You were in the culture. You were within the zeitgeist in a way. But then the other end of it is that there's this, in my opinion, ageism issue with perhaps young songwriters feeling that they maybe don't want to be in the room with someone older. But I have this thing, and I like to talk about it all the time, and it's that I believe that as we get older, we have more value. And that's one thing that I think our younger generation isn't doing as much. They're not taking our lessons. They're not soaking up that knowledge and making it their own. But I do feel like the ageism issue in music especially is quite prevalent. Do you feel it?
Well, no.
You lucky thing.
I don't feel it, but I might be oblivious to it.
Okay.
And I don't care because I don't want to be in that world, in that circle anymore. Confident doing what I'm doing, and I'll talk about what I've been pivoting to, but there was one thing that happened to me about a year or two ago that really made me comfortable pivoting and leaving the world of what I had been doing. And I was playing at a local place. It was a songwriter night. I was the oldest one playing. I felt like a grandmother. Everybody else that had played that night had a song presently on the radio with a Dua Lipa or I want to say Billie Eilish, but probably not Billie Eilish, but a pop star. And then I got up and I played my, Bitch and What a Girl Wants. And after I was done, I sat in the back of the room and a young person came over to me and said, that was a great set. And I said, thank you. But everybody is, amazing. Look at all these kids. And he said, no. He said, here's the thing. What's going on up there is a wordplay competition. He said, what you do, the way you write or wrote those lyrics, that's the way people think when they get into bed at night and pull the covers up. He said, you're speaking the way we think. He said, but that's a wordplay competition. And I thought to myself, wow, I enjoy a wordplay song. I get it. You really have to have that skill and a craft to do it. It's not my forte, and I don't want to do that. And that's really what a lot of pop stuff is, maybe not Phoebe Bridgers, and maybe not, there's a lot of artists out there writing some, beautiful, inspiring, uniquely perspective driven work. But the mainstream pop stuff is a lot of wordplay, and I respect it and I admire it, but that's not what I do. So I've channeled my efforts into a couple of musicals I'm working on.
Cool.
Where I don't have to think about... There is wordplay in a musical theater song. There definitely is. But the meaning and depth is there too, and that takes priority. And it's more mature. If it's not a jukebox musical where they're taking, you know, somebody's work from the 90s and making a musical out of it, which is really cool. That's not what if somebody came up to me and said they want to do that with my songs, I'd be like, great.
Yeah.
That's not what I'm
like
writing.
Anne Juliet with Max Martin's
Correct.
work. That was great. Yeah.
Very creative, very clever. I'm working on a couple of original musicals where the songs drive the original story. And it's a challenge. And there are people that say to me, when I say I'm working on a musical, they're like, everybody's working on a musical. And I said, really? That's what everybody said about pop songs too. And that didn't stop me. It didn't intimidate me. And one day I had a hit. So that's what's in my mind, that these two projects I'm working on, I feel that they have legs. And if I'm excited doing it, you're going to be excited doing it. I heard Cara Diaguardi say, we were on a panel once, and she said, somebody said, how do you know a song has legs? She said, if you feel inspired when you're writing the song, if it's inspired going in, it's going to be inspired going out. And I thought, touche.
Oh, that's a good
If
one.
I'm working on a song and I'm not excited about it, how can I expect anybody else to be?
Yeah.
So if I'm excited about what I'm working on, I can expect somebody else to be.
And with these two musicals, am I right in thinking you're working on them with Adam, your husband?
I am.
That's fun.
Yeah.
What is exciting you about these two? What can we tell the viewers about the two musicals?
One of them, which might be a little further along, is called Snipped. And it was brought to life by a young songwriter friend of mine, Lucy Levinson Berman, who, as a Jewish mother, found that she had given birth to a boy when she thought she was having a girl. And in the Jewish religion, you have 8 days to have the child circumcised. And not only circumcised, but have this big old party that's called a bris, and it's a celebration, and the circumcision is witnessed by all these people. And
I recently learned about this, and it's phenomenal. Like it's and the mother, you know, she doesn't watch as well because that's quite horrific for her to see her baby.
Right.
Yeah, it's, you know, I love traditions and love ceremonial things. I get it.
I never even thought about it as a Jewish woman myself, and I had a daughter, so I didn't have to think about it. Yeah. But if I had a boy, I probably would have just done it by rote, because that's what you do. And she started questioning, do I want to do this? And looking into why she had to, and it was simply just tradition. And she had this idea to write the story of what transpired over the course of the week, and looking at tradition and looking at losing your family members if you don't follow tradition. And she and Adam and I started writing the songs during COVID. And a musical is something I never really wanted to have anything to do with, but I read this script that she had written with Kimberly Arnold and Jill Piwowar, and I thought, this is hilarious. And why don't we just write a couple of songs and see what happens? It was COVID. There was nothing else going on.
What I love about it is your music, Adam's film, so theatre, musical
we had
theatre.
Nothing to do.
But also, how did this never happen previously? Music and theatre combining? It seems like a given.
I was doing my thing, and Adam was doing his film and TV thing. We spent so much time together as married people and parents that we really never considered each other steady co-writers. And we were good together, and we were good with Lucy, and it was fun, and it was prolific. And we thought, let's keep doing this. And we did. And every time we got together, we wrote another song that we're like, oh my God, this is amazing. And so we kept going. And now we have a director, and we've done a 29-hour read with actors before. A musical is like a Rubik's Cube. A 3-minute pop song that might take like 3 weeks to write, a day to write, a couple months to come out. You can expect a musical theater. It's going to be anywhere from 3 to 10 years to really get it off the ground.
You're exercising a lot of patience at the moment.
And people will say, well, when's it going to be on Broadway? And I think Broadway is gravy. Let's put it up at the Geffen. Let's put it up in local theater. Let's grow it from something small. And we have done 3 or 4 rewrites, and we're ready for another reading. And I think we'll have it up and running within a year.
Wow. And then the second musical? Anything?
The second musical is kind of like, the infrastructure is so different with Snipped, which, by the way, used to be called Foreskin when we first...
I like Snipped. It's funny.
It's a little less confrontational. Yeah. We had nothing and no producer, and we had to do it all our own from scratch. Who's going to direct it and who's paying for all the performances? I was approached over COVID by 2 very well-established Broadway producers by way of introduction, by somebody I did a song with over COVID for an online film, children's thing. And they introduced me to these wonderful producers who wanted to develop a musical about a Canadian young runner in the 60s and 70s. And they tried to keep her off the field and off the track, and she wound up breaking all these records. And they wanted not musically music, they wanted music that was songs that were evocative of the 60s and 70s, like the Mamas and the Papas, like the Monkees, like Crosby, Stills, Nash, like Joni Mitchell, like Motown. And I wanted to do it with my husband. It was also over COVID, and I said, we're great together. And they said, wonderful. We wrote a few songs for them to just sort of audition our work. And they loved us together. And they actually hired us, which is very unusual. But they have the budgets, and they have the relationships. So with Snipped, we're doing it all on our own. Luckily, with Run Baby Run, we've got these 2 wonderful guys who are mentoring us, who have all the relationships, who can get it into theater. So all Adam and I have to do is write the songs and shape the story, but not worry about the finances, and that's all on them.
Yeah.
And they've got a handle on that. I think it would be too overwhelming having to do that for both shows. So Adam and I just look at each other and we think, wow, we're good together. And we lived together for over 20 years and never realized what collaborative collaborators we are. We have different strengths, and we're together so much that in the middle of the night I might come up with a line and I'll just like go whack.
You wake him up?
I got it. I got the line. Where you can't do that with somebody who you've got to call over in London and schedule a Zoom call.
Yeah.
We'll be making coffee. And because when you're writing, even when you're not in the session, your brain is going. Even when you don't know it, when you're driving, when you're in the shower, when you're at the supermarket. And when you're home and you're living with somebody, you could just pass in the hallway and go, I meant to tell you, I thought of a line, and then they take the ball and run. And for years, I think I resisted that because I thought we spent so much time together. It's good to separate. Over COVID, you really had no choice. And we got on great. We survived it. And I think we discovered this great working relationship.
You know what I love? Adam has been inspiring your creative work since
Yeah,
you
a
met
lot
him.
of my biggest songs are about him.
I mean, let's talk about Bitch,
Yeah.
right? Because I Hate the World Today, that first line, you were, am I right in thinking you were approaching 40?
Mm-hmm.
And tell me what was happening in your relationship at the time and what inspired that line and what happened from there.
I was driving home from a session. Everybody around me in my life was having hits. I was going on 10 years of album cuts, which were great. Album cuts that earned me a lot of these plaques. If you got a plaque, it meant you had a song on an album that sold. It didn't mean that you had to have a hit from it. You lived on that album that made that album sell, and you were part of the nutritional value. But I wanted a hit song. I was coming home from a session thinking, I have PMS. I definitely have PMS. Which was very helpful in songwriting.
Because it makes PMS.
It makes you moody.
Yeah.
And moody
Passionate.
is good for songwriting.
Yeah.
And I stopped at a red light and I was thinking, I'm going home to this wonderful guy. He's going to love me no matter what mood I'm in, no matter what funk I'm in. But I want a hit song, and everybody around me is having a hit song, and I still don't have a hit song, and I hate the world today. And I thought, that's a good first line. A lot of songs get off and running from just something that could be a really good first line. And I had met Meredith recently, and I thought she can relate to this. I knew her well enough to know she could relate to this PMS-driven feeling. And what also came was, I hate the world today, and I'm going home to this guy, and I could be in a funk, and I could be in a bad mood. I could be such a bitch. The word came up. And I thought if anybody could pull that off in a song, Meredith can, because she had lady balls. She sang great. She played guitar. I just knew she'd relate to it. And I called her when I got home. I said, you got to come over tomorrow. I got a really great idea, and I think you can do this. And we sat in a room that was this big, and she put a guitar in her lap, and it just went line, 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 line.
You're starting with I Hate the World Today, and then she picks it up.
And she had a line, and I had a line, and in an hour that song was done. And we both felt we just did something special, remarkable. I don't know. I never heard anything like it. I just felt something in my bones. She left and went and demoed the song with a friend of hers in the canyon. She brought it into Interscope the next day, where she had a development deal. And in a development deal, you hand in so many songs, and if they keep passing on them, you're allowed to leave. So this was her last song that she was allowed to bring in. If they passed, she was allowed to go.
Oh.
And they passed on it. And she and Lori Levy, her manager, drove over to Capitol Records and played it for Perry Watts Russell. And he said, I want to sign it. I want to sign you. And she called me and said, they're doing it. They just got to get their ducks in order. It's going to be a big fat hit. And I thought, I've heard this before. very guarded. Great, I'm so happy, but let's see. And went on my merry way. And about 6 months later, I was driving out of my driveway and I was pregnant. I'll never forget this day. And I put on K-Rock and that loop came on, that drum loop. And I thought, where do I know that from? And there it was.
That was so quick.
It was about 6 months, you know? And I remember picking up that new cell phone that came out. That was like that huge Motorola thing.
Yeah.
And calling everybody I knew to tell them my song was on the radio. And the call kept getting dropped. And by the time I was done trying to call everybody to tell them my song was on the radio, the song was over. I never got through to anybody. And I missed the whole moment. And I'll never do that again. I heard What a Girl Wants like 2 days ago. I couldn't pull over because I was on the 101. Ever since that day, I pull over if I hear a song on the radio. I couldn't pull over, but I still honor the moment. I give all my attention to I haven't had so many hits that I hear a song on the radio every day. In fact, people will send me screenshots of, I just heard Bitch. I just heard What a Girl Wants. I just heard Almost This Again. I feel like I never hear my songs on the radio. I feel like that's the universe keeping me in check. So when I do, I really honor the moment. And I really feel it like the first time. I never get used to it. I never want to get used to it. It's this crazy, beautiful 3 minutes that I waited for so long, for those 10 years.
Yeah.
So maybe writers who had their hit right out of the box, had their it, don't feel that way when they hear it on the radio. I feel like I waited so fucking long. I never get unthankful.
And you know, you could just stream it whenever you want. If you want to play it, you could just pull it up.
Because streaming it, you can hear it whenever you want. You can hear it whenever you want when you put on the radio or when you put on Sirius.
It's more special.
You can't demand it. That's somebody choosing to put it on a playlist or a DJ choosing your song to play it. It's not, I could stream it all day on Spotify. So?
You've had so many moments where it's the 25th anniversary of What a Girl Wants recently, right? So it's re-entered the zeitgeist, which is a beautiful thing. And I want to get into the writing of that because I think you wrote that about Adam as well, right? He inspired that one too. I love this. But
somebody will say to Adam sometimes, how do you feel about when she plays songs about other guys, you know, and if I'm doing a songwriter night and I'm playing songs about other guys or other relationships, he said, I don't care, you know, her 2 biggest songs were about me.
Yeah, that's right.
So.
Yeah. There's this idea that when an artist releases a song, it's no longer theirs. It becomes the fans, it becomes the world's. Everyone ties their own emotion to it, their own personal story to it.
That is true.
The meaning of it may not be what the songwriter intended. I think for a songwriter, they lose that ownership of the song even earlier because they gift it to
as soon as
an
they
artist.
put it out.
Yeah.
Jeff Tweedy writes about this in a book he wrote called, I think it's One Song. And I always felt that way too. I was taking a bath last week and I'm reading the chapter and I'm thinking, he's talking about that same thing I talked about when somebody asked me, if you listen to a song that you always love by somebody who has since been on trial for something really bad, do you still listen to that music?
Can you separate the man
And
from
I
the artist?
absolutely separate it. As soon as it's in the world, as soon as it's released into the public, everybody owns their feeling that they feel when they listen to that song. And that's theirs. It belongs to nobody else. And you can't take that away from somebody once you release it into the public, once it's out there for everybody to hear. I agree. And I think people have been thinking about that because the question has been posed. Do we still play songs by this person who went to jail for blah, blah? Fuck yeah.
I find it so hard. I love Michael Jackson. I love Remix to Ignition by R. Kelly. I love some Diddy songs. I really struggle to listen to the
Phil
hits
Ramone.
now. Yeah. Yeah. And I think
Don't
it's,
struggle.
but I wonder if it's because I'm an obsessive too, but I'm an obsessive with the creative. Like I love this opportunity that I have to try and understand a little bit of you, capture that magic that is within your mind and that I will never have access to by being a mere mortal music fan and not a creative myself. And so I wonder if because I am obsessed with the song, I'm also obsessed with the artist. And when the artist lets me down, it ruins the song for me.
Well, it ruins it. It taints it.
It taints it.
Do you still get joy from it?
Yeah.
Like if I hear,
Yeah. But I'm sad that
the
I get
jury
joy.
is still out on Michael Jackson, but when I hear something from Off the Wall, pure joy. And I'm not thinking about his personal life.
I think I have guilt. I
Really?
have guilt for listening to it.
I give you permission to release the guilt.
Thank you. Maybe
Enjoy
just
it.
Jay.
Music is music.
Yeah. Yeah, it's ours now. And like you say, and that's an interesting thing that you've been able to do is release it to a songwriter who goes on tour and from a public perspective, the song is Christina Aguilera's. The song is Meredith Brooks.
Thank God.
Not really. Tell me why.
Because they say Christina, she listened to that demo and she made it spectacular. The demo was a little tired. I always give thanks to Ron Fair for hearing the demo and saying, this girl could do it. And she made it her own. So the song is a copyright. The record is the record. God, I heard Dylan on Sirius today do a cover of Yesterday. Paul's song Yesterday. It's the same song. It was a different record. When I hear Gordon Lightfoot do Bobby McGee, was it Gordon Lightfoot? No, it was Chris Christopherson. I'm like, when I hear Janis Joplin do it, I love it. The copyright is the copyright. A record is just a different life. And could somebody else have recorded What a Girl Wants and made it a hit? Maybe. But maybe not. But she did. And she gave me a gift that I am forever grateful for. I got a chance to go backstage with my friend Kristen a couple years ago and tell Christina that.
What'd she say?
Not much. She's a different human than she was when I met her.
Okay.
Picking her up for sessions and turning off the AC in my car because she knew it was bad for her vocal cords. Did she come out because she had the same thanks for me for writing that song for her? I don't know. I don't care. I still wanted to give thanks, express thanks.
Well, you gave her a gift too, because she had Genie in a Bottle, and then what was the follow-up? There was this a big thought around what would the follow-up be, and she chose What a Girl Wants, and then that was the year in 2000, Best New Artist Grammy Award. It was those two songs that did it.
So I don't know how she feels. I don't know if she thinks that way. I think at the time she might have wanted to do dirtier material. Dirtier, I mean like edgy and...
Well, she did Dirty after that, and it was great.
She did.
Wasn't it awesome?
And she was coming out of being a Mouseketeer. And Ron Fair, the label, was picking her songs for that first album. She got to turn the corner later on. But I think she looks back on that material as very starter. And I don't know, I haven't sat down and had a conversation with her about it. I would love to before I leave the world, and maybe she will someday go out for a coffee and talk about that relationship between songwriter and artist. I am thrilled that she did this new version with Sabrina Carpenter.
Wasn't that cool?
What a wonderful duet. I'm hoping that they get nominated for some kind of duet category for a Grammy. Although sadly, if they do, the writer doesn't get anything. It would go to the artist.
Tell me about the splits with this. I would love to understand. So you've written some of the biggest hits in the last few decades.
Well, if a song gets nominated,
yeah,
the writer will get a nomination. But I think in this category, it would be for the category of the performance of a duet.
Yes, in that
so
category.
It would not be considered a win for the songwriter.
Yeah.
Sadly.
Well, how does it work for What a Girl Wants with the royalty split?
Well, the royalty split will always be that Guy Roche and I wrote it together, so the song is 50-50.
50-50.
That will never change, no matter who sings it. If there's an adaptation where we would give them permission to change the words and do something else with the song, like, what's her name? Did it recently with the repeat of What a Girl Wants. I can't think. It just starts with a K. It was an R&B, an urban act. This is also what happens. I'm sort of like in a brain fog. Then if you might give them a piece for that version. But they would always have to come to you for permission. The record, the master version, the recording is a whole different copyright. And that is owned by RCA or whatever label made and paid for the actual recording of the song. That I have no dibs on.
You're the publisher end, not the recording.
Correct.
Yeah, not the record label end.
Correct.
God.
The master and the publishing.
And this is something...
And that's fair.
Yeah, it is fair. And this is something that you're very passionate about, because tell me about SONA, the Songwriters of North America organization that you're very passionate about.
What happened was, when we went from physical copy to digital copy, was a whole different income stream. I was able to make a living without writing a hit by having songs on albums, because for every album that's sold, whether you had the single or an album cut, you could earn 8 to 9 cents for every album sold. So if I had a song on a Celine Dion record that wasn't a single, that nobody knew because it wasn't on the radio, but she sold 1 million records, and I wrote the whole thing, which was unusual, and published the whole thing, and I made 9 cents per album sold, that would make me $90,000. It wasn't unusual for a record to sell 1 million copies or 500,000 copies, which would make it gold. So if I co-wrote that record, I'd make $45,000. And if I had a few of those every year in the 90s, I was good. I never had to have a hit. I was making a nice living. I had a 2-bedroom apartment in the city. I bought a little car. I went on vacation. I wanted a hit song, but I was still making a living. when physical copies went away, that whole income stream died. And the digital version of a stream was earning a songwriter fractions of a cent per stream. Not only that, if a song streamed for less than 30 seconds or something like that, you got paid nothing. So you'd have to make, your song would have to stream 1 million times to make a couple of $100.
A couple of $100? I thought it was around 5,000. This is breaking my brain. Wow.
No, I don't think so. Or maybe it was like a couple thousand between all the copyright owners. So by the time...
if you owned everything.
You know, but think of it, a million albums, $90,000, 1 million streams, a couple thousand.
Shit.
So, and people weren't really streaming whole albums, they were streaming the singles. So the album cuts that lived virtually on these invisible albums are getting nothing.
Yeah.
So the whole middle class, of which I was for the 10 years before I had a hit, was gone. Everybody had to have a real job, a second job, in order to survive trying to have their hit. Now, if you have a hit song, which becomes super well known, and that song starts streaming billions, you're in the game. Also, because a hit song that's very well known will start getting synced in TV shows and commercials, and that income stream is completely different business model, sorry about this,
That's fine.
than the stream. That's just a fee that gets split. So Sona, we started 10 years ago. We're just on our 10th birthday. 4 women, we called ourselves the Fempire. Now we're thousands, all genders. And we started fighting for that streaming rate to pay songwriters what we call a mechanical license, which disappeared with the physical copy. And we've had some success, but even if we take that tiny little streaming rate and raise it and bring awareness up and talk to Congress people about this intellectual property, just the value dying, it's just never going to get back to the physical copy business model.
Oh, and now you're dealing with AI music as well. So with Sona, obviously you started it because we moved from physical to digital sales, but we're now in an entirely new music industry where there's another beast affecting us, which is AI.
So I put a lot of work in with Sona, feet on the ground, for 8 years. And then I stepped back. There was a lot of passion and anguish and moving forward, and we did a lot of good. And then I felt like this is going to drive me a little crazy. It's never going to stop. Something's going to go away and AI is going to come. Something's going to go away. Something else is going to pop up. It's whack-a-mole. And we need young people to come in and fill these spots on the board and put the gloves on. I am there for all the advocacy. I open my home. We do fundraisers here. I love being part of that, but I'm not actually putting the gloves on and fighting as much anymore. The way I personally feel about AI, and I've done some teaching, and I tell my kids this, is AI pulls from what has been released. AI pulls from what's out there and makes a new creative work. There has never been as more important a time in creativity to be original, to be novel and unique. Because if you are, it hasn't been out there yet, AI's not going to pull from it. And we're so used to following algorithms, Spotify saying, this is the new sound, write something like this. and everybody's doing that, they're not thinking about being original. And that is the only way to compete with AI, if there is any way at all. Other than that, I haven't used it yet. I haven't used it to write an email. I haven't used it to write a song. I might go on it one day just out of curiosity, but it doesn't really interest me. I get an email. I know if AI has been used. I could tell right away. It's too perfect. It doesn't have any humor. So I think 10 years ago, I would be...
We have a visitor.
It's good because the pool is green. I'd be a lot more threatened by it if I was just starting my creative life. But it's up to the young people and the people coming up to deal with it. And I think just being as original as you can is your best antidote.
Yeah, it's a tool, not a replacement for human creativity.
I would hope so, but it is being used as a, who gets paid the royalty on a song that's been completely created by AI? I also think that the DSPs need to, just as they write explicit next to a song with explicit language, they need to divulge whether a song was written by more than 20% worth of AI.
That's a good
so
disclaimer.
that somebody like me, if I choose to not listen to that because it was AI driven, I don't have to. Otherwise, we're not going to be able to tell the difference. And out of principle, I want the information. So I could listen to a human generated work rather than AI, just as a choice.
Yeah. I think that's really smart. I would like that. My biggest worry in the music industry is the sync licensing, is that we had so many artists earning a great amount of money from sync deals, and now with it being...
That's going away too. What are they leaving us with?
Yeah.
The old songs, like the Bitches and the What a Girl Wants, when they get synced, they'll still get paid. The new works...
But then you create an original, you enter the zeitgeist with it, you create a hit. There's still going to be companies that want that related to their brand. So
be that standout.
Yeah.
Again, talking about gratitude, I am so grateful that I was in the game when I was in the game. Adam and I have been very frugal and never thought, oh, this is going to last. I'm the shit. I'm never going to stop having hits. It's going to be one after another. We always thought, at some point, it's going to be a new generation. Save that money. Make it work for you. And I'm so glad that he was of the same mind, because we're okay now. I can take What a Girl Wants and Bitch and sort of parlay it into supporting me for moving forward. Because they still do get synced. And syncing, licensing fees is just like a whole different ball game.
No, but you raise a really good point. We're in a completely different industry now. You've said before.
Oh, you were asking about Sona.
Well, I also want to ask about how hard it is for songwriters. You've said that it's never been harder for songwriters now, and you talked a little bit briefly at the start about how you used to get together with another songwriter and then be able to gift that to an artist. Now the artist wants to be in the room.
The artist wants to be in a room, and the songwriters are really artists. They all sing. They all could make their own records. They're as talented. It's just a matter of, are they going to get signed or is somebody else going to get signed? I used to not be able to tell who the songwriter was if I was in a room with a bunch of songwriters. They were in plaid shirts and, they didn't look any different and they didn't look trendy and fashionable, and a lot of us couldn't sing. We knew how to write a song. And we hired a singer to sing a demo. I sang very few of my own demos because listen to my voice. It's low. I don't have a big fancy range and melisma and licks. Now, I think if you want to get in a room, it's important it helps to be able to sing, to know how to really sing in a cool way, to sing in a hip way. And you have to be a lot of fun, and you have to be a good hang. I mean, you always had to be a good hang, but the hang was kind of different. Now it's a cool hang.
What's your favorite hang that you've had with a big name artist where you've ended up writing a song together? Or not? It's just been a hang.
Gosh. That is really hard. I'm looking at my wall.
Do you want me to list off some of the artists that you've written with?
So,
Because there's a lot.
I've met Chrissy Hind,
Oh, yeah.
who recorded my song Human.
Yeah.
I had a wonderful meet with her. Love. Didn't write the song with her. Wrote with Julian Lennon. That was fun.
Oh, wow. The stories.
I'm looking around. I haven't had amazing experiences in the room with art. Lisa Loeb. A lot of fun.
Selena Gomez is up there.
Selena. Didn't write with her. She came here and recorded the song she wrote for her album in this room.
Oh.
And she was lovely. She was really young. This was a long time ago. But we didn't write together.
Miley
Say what?
Cyrus.
Miley was a fun hang.
She seems like a fun hang.
Very young when I wrote with her.
Driven, like knows her own.
I don't know if it would be the same hang today.
No, she's a different
She
one.
was just coming out of Disney. She was lovely. My daughter was probably in 4th grade. Hannah Montana.
Oh, cute.
And Miley came to the house. And I didn't tell Layla she was coming. Because just in case she canceled. I didn't want to disappoint my daughter. My daughter came home from school. And Hannah Montana was in the living room. And she just could not believe it. She couldn't speak.
Oh.
It was really cute. And Miley was adorable. Took her around. They took some pictures, gave her a hug. But this was the before Miley, you know.
Yeah, Miley was just released an amazing
A new
record.
album.
Yeah.
Have you heard it? I want to hear it.
I heard a couple of songs.
I heard her.
Yeah.
I liked her last album.
Yeah. She's an artist of her own space now.
I do.
Yeah.
I have a lot of respect for her. She's just not, you know, she's the boss of herself.
Yeah. And she has that star quality as well. She knows her worth.
I agree.
Yeah.
I agree.
She has it, as you say.
She does. I think I'd be a little bit afraid of her if I got in the room with her now.
I was thinking the same thing. I watched her interview with Jimmy Fallon and I thought, oh my God, what a star. But then I thought, when you have that much star power, it can be quite intimidating. But that's cool.
Keith Urban sat right here.
Love Keith. Well, you know he was born in my hometown,
Was he?
Whangarei in New Zealand. Yes.
Now, he sat right here and wrote with me before he had his first album came out. So who knew? I didn't take a picture. I just kept staring at his arms. It'd be
Yeah, the
beautiful
tattoos.
arms.
Did he have tattoos then?
He just beautiful arms. I was like,
Did he
Who
write
knew?
on a beat pad then? Or
No.
did he have a guitar? Okay. He was one
he
of
had a
the
guitar.
Yeah, cool.
And then I was in the room with Britney, but
Britney
she was
Spears.
kind of like, what's going on? Little out there. that phase. And she
What
would
year?
not deny that.
What year was that?
When did Out From Under come out? Gosh, I've been doing this so long, I can't remember. Out From Under was probably, I don't know, 18 years? I don't know.
So she was probably in the thick of it, or the start of the thick of it.
The start of the thick of it. Yeah.
That's tough.
Yeah.
And then you would have a bit of a maternal feeling towards that as
I
well.
always did.
Yeah.
I always took care of the babies in a good way.
Yeah.
You know, I always did feel maternal. Fifi Dobson, I don't know if you know her. She was a gas. I loved working with her. You know, Natasha Bedingfield recorded a song of mine, but we didn't write together. I was really lucky. I wrote a lot of songs that the artist did not write.
Yeah.
And I feel very proud of that because that shows that the song was really good. If it wound up on an album and the artist didn't participate, it's really hard to land on an album now without the artist writing it. Not so much in Nashville. I think you could pitch songs to artists. They really value the song. But even in Nashville, you need to be in the room very often with the artist. And if an artist can write, great. If they can't, it's really diluting the music we hear.
Oh, yeah.
And the songs we consume. And the bar.
Yeah, becomes lower. Why do you think artists want to be part of the songwriting process? Do you think it's because...
I think it gives them cred.
Yeah, and they're doing more media interviews, right? So they'd want to sit there and they want to say, yeah, I came up with it. Everyone wants to know the story behind the song. The audience has much more untapped access to them through social media. You know, the digital world has democratized that kind of access. So they want to be part of the story.
They want to be part of the story.
I was thinking about your way of songwriting and how you have this ability in the same way that I think Bernie Taupin did, was you're able to create...
Thank you.
Well...
Just me in the same sentence with Bernie.
I feel that you're able to create worlds with your words. And it's not many artists do that, and you alluded to that at the start. But it takes a lot of inspiration. It takes a lot of being able to just walk around and feel that inspiration come for you.
There's songs all around us.
Yeah.
Observe the world.
Do you feel just as inspired today as you did, say, 20 years ago?
No.
Bob Dylan said the same thing.
I think when we're young, we're working at our shit. And a lot of my shit is worked out.
There's joy in that.
There is. And I think a lot when I write about the passage of time, if I'm writing a pop song. Musical stuff is like about the musical story. So I'm inspired by that. I'm trying to make my futon not creak. But as far as looking around and observing life and writing about that and thinking one day I'm going to send this out, I'm going to save this. I do still have an arsenal on my notes app of like when somebody says something and I write it down, like, you know, maybe one day I'll write a song about this and I'll document that first line that could go somewhere. But they're piling up without outlets, and I'm okay with that. The book was a great outlet at this pivotal point in my life when I said, what do I do? And I put my efforts into a different creative, a different material, which was a book instead of a song. But I'm just a lot more content, so I'm not writing as much. I'm not trying to figure out why he still doesn't love me or why he still didn't love me. You know, that guy I wrote about when I was 19, I was writing songs about why he didn't love me for years. There must be, 50 songs about trying to figure out why he didn't love me. And I just don't care anymore.
You've moved on.
I can go there. There's remnants. I can go there, but I'm not, it just doesn't matter that much anymore. So,
but you talk about,
yeah. And I'm glad I had the same answer as Bob Dylan.
Yeah, it makes sense.
Because part of me wanted to say, sure. So the young kids called me to write, but like, I didn't really want to do that anyway.
Yeah. And you talk about, your past relationship in the book. There's so much in there. I think this is going to be my final question. Did you piss anyone off with writing that book?
Yeah.
Who and how?
Oh, yeah. Well, I changed names.
Smart.
It's interesting that you asked me that, Poppy, because there was one guy who really pissed me off. Well, there was a few that I wrote about, but one in particular who did a lot for my career, and then he really pissed me off. And I wrote...
Industry or a relationship?
Industry. Mm-hmm. Are you asking me about industry? Oh, well, you're saying, did I piss anybody off?
No, just anyone. Yeah.
And recently, and he got in touch after the book came out.
Through lawyers?
No.
Oh, good.
And I said, well, this is how I remember it. And he said, well, maybe I'll write my own book. And I said, you should go right ahead and tell the story as you remember it. However, very recently, I've been thinking about calling that same person and having coffee with them and saying, I also need to thank you.
Oh.
I was mad at that thing you did, but I also need to thank you because you gave me a lot of opportunity that did a lot for me. And I just want to say I recognize that as well.
God, that is such a big thing to admit.
Yeah.
When someone wrongs you, but you also can't deny how they have helped you.
Not one thing. Right.
People aren't all good or all bad.
That's correct.
Yeah. That's a beautiful realization. I'm glad you wrote that book.
Thank you. Me too.
I think artists need to read it.
I would love that. I mean, it's came out in 2016. I can't believe it's 8 years old.
Wow.
But it's a memoir. It's the truth about growing up songwriter. And I'm still a serial songwriter. I will always be.
Yeah.
My perspective changes a little, but I think it's still relevant and it's all still true. It's not a how-to book. A lot of that has changed. But how we evolve doesn't change.
Shelly, it has been such
Pleasure.
a privilege.
I'm sorry I was a little late.
No, you were right on time. Thank you so much for this time.
Thanks for having me.